These defendants took advantage of Mr. Perry's addiction issues to enrich themselves. They knew what they were doing was wrong. They knew what they were doing was risking great danger to Mr. Perry, but they did it anyway.
A bombshell announcement from federal prosecutors today. 5 people arrested in connection with the death of Friends star Matthew Perry, including his personal assistant, 2 doctors, and a person known as the Ketamine Queen. I'm Valerie Castro in for Gadi Schwartz, and this is Stay Tuned Now. Today's federal indictment detailed the charges against the 5 defendants, which include a conspiracy to distribute ketamine to the Friends star. Prosecutors say Matthew Perry's fame meant nothing to them.
Defendant Placentia saw this as an opportunity to profit off of Mr. Perry. He wrote in a text message in September 2023, quote, "I wonder how much this moron will pay."
Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson now to break down this investigation. Steve, what more can you tell us about this bombshell revelation when it comes to Perry's death and this so-called underground criminal network?
Yeah, Valerie, sprawled in front of me is this 34-page criminal indictment. In there are 78 what are called overt acts that prosecutors say directly led to Perry's death. In those 78 acts, there is vast descriptions of what happened, including distribution, including injections, dates, times, pictures, names, all of it contained in this indictment, leading to 18 counts. The most serious is distribution of ketamine, resulting in death. 5 people involved in this. And this, maybe the most surprising thing is that many of those people knew who Matthew Perry was and were ostensibly somebody that should be his friend. Listen to prosecutors talk about these 5 people. Listen to this.
That investigation has revealed a broad underground criminal network responsible for distributing large quantities of ketamine to Mr. Perry and others. This network included a live-in assistant, various go-betweens, 2 medical doctors, and a major source of drug supply known as, quote, the Ketamine Queen.
Certainly the most shocking thing I think I heard in there is that there are 2 medical doctors. These are people that take an oath in order to protect people's health. They swear by it, and yet they are accused of profiting off of a person's disease. Matthew Perry, obviously a long time known for struggling with addiction. These doctors are accused of exploiting that. In fact, one is quoted in text messages as saying, quote, "I wonder how much this moron will pay." That doctor, nicknamed Dr. P in the indictment, is accused of distributing 20 vials of ketamine to Perry for $50,000. All of this happening within the month before he was found dead at his own property in his own hot tub. Valerie?
And Steve, someone else named in all of this is the, quote, Ketamine Queen of Los Angeles. What was her involvement in this?
The Ketamine Queen of Los Angeles. Yeah, shocking to hear that as well. She is accused of distributing 50 vials of ketamine, again, all within the same month of October, to Matthew Perry for $11,000. She was also found to have what prosecutors have called a drug emporium in her place in North Hollywood, that she was just this prolific drug dealer, methamphetamine, ketamine, you name it, cocaine, all of this found inside her place of residence and taken out. And also because of that, it's like sort of a needle in a haystack and a mountain out of a molehill, because they're finding other cases that are related to this woman, including a man that died the same day he was distributed ketamine, and that she kept on dealing until she finally got to Matthew Perry. So prosecutors sort of finding more, uncovering more, and charging her with more because of it. She's looking at life in prison. Valerie?
And Steve, in light of these arrests, we also heard from Perry's family today. What are they saying?
Yeah, you know, we heard from the Morrison family, who may as well be a part of the Perry family. Keith Morrison, famous Dateline correspondent for us, is Matthew Perry's stepdad. The Morrison family released a statement earlier today saying, in part, quote, "We are heartbroken by Matthew's death, but it has helped us to know that law enforcement has taken the case very seriously. We look forward to justice taking its course." Obviously, anybody related or who knows Matthew Perry is heartbroken by this news. This indictment, very serious, very graphic, and I think prosecutors wanted to exhibit that. Valerie.
All right, Steve, thanks for looking into all of that for us. We appreciate you.
Yeah. Thanks.
And now to break down the legal side of these arrests, let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Angela Cinadella. Angela, this brings to mind a couple of cases from the past. In 2011, Michael Jackson's doctor was convicted of involuntary manslaughter. On the flip side, a wrongful death lawsuit that was brought against the pop star Prince's doctor was dismissed after that was brought by his family. What do we think will happen in this case?
Yeah, so look, when a celebrity passes away from a drug-related reason, then there's two things that always happen. First, the investigation that follows is always aggressive and it's always expansive because it's allegedly in the public's interest. But then second, if they are able to obtain enough evidence, which usually means if they're able to track where that illegal drug came from, then usually there is a prosecution. And you and I have talked before about prosecutorial discretion, how prosecutors can choose to go after certain crimes and not, especially given just how many drug offenses happen in this country every day. But here, the investigation really turned out a lot. Now, if you look, for example, what happened in Prince's case, the investigators at the time said they couldn't necessarily locate how he obtained his counterfeit fentanyl-laced pill. But then you saw in Michael Jackson's case, they were able to understand exactly how the medication ended up in his body. So in this case, they were able to track the ketamine. It resulted in this expansive investigation. And now here we are with this underground network.
And in this case, so far the charges are conspiracy to distribute ketamine, some other drug-related offenses. What are the chances that they could eventually go after higher charges like involuntary manslaughter or even murder?
So look, anything is always possible. I'm certain the investigations are ongoing and continuing. However, involuntary manslaughter is really difficult to prove. First of all, there has to be negligence. And second of all, that negligence has to be the direct cause of the death. So in this case, it's not even clear that ketamine was identified as the exact cause of his death, even though ketamine was found in his system. So when we look at, for example, Conrad Murray, the doctor who was found guilty in the example of Michael Jackson, well, he was a doctor who lived with him and directly administered the drug, at least according to prosecutors. So in that case, it's pretty direct. So involuntary manslaughter, murder charges could come, but based on the information that's been released at this time, it doesn't necessarily seem likely.
Now that these arrests have been made, what can we expect next?
So look, these investigations are always ongoing. Part of the reason for press conferences like these, well, first, it's to reassure the public that the government is doing something about this. But second, it's also to get more information from the public. So if people hear of more things, and because this is not just limited, apparently, to Matthew Perry, but this underground criminal network likely ensnares all sorts of people, more could happen. Also, what fascinated me about this indictment is the guilty pleas in addition to the not guilty. What happens there is the investigators interrogate everybody. Certain people are allowed to plead, certain people they make deals with, and they use that information to then go after more. So oftentimes this could be just the beginning or it could be the end.
All right, more to come. Angela Cinadella, thank you. Tonight, Bermuda is bracing for impact as Hurricane Ernesto takes aim, steadily gaining strength over the Atlantic. This comes after the storm brushed past Puerto Rico as a tropical storm, dumping heavy rain that washed out neighborhoods and destructive winds that damaged homes, and at one point, leaving hundreds of thousands of people without power, essentially half the island. That is down to a quarter of the island tonight, according to the power company there. Ernesto could become a Category 2 hurricane as it approaches Bermuda, threatening a foot of rain and dangerous surf. This would be the strongest and closest hurricane to impact Bermuda in almost 4 years.
I urge you to act now. Time is running out. I want to remind everyone that we are in this together. The actions we take now will help protect our island and our community.
We have team coverage tonight. NBC News meteorologist Angie Lassman will have the forecast. But first, let's go to NBC News correspondent Stephen Romo, who is in Bermuda for us tonight. Stephen, how are people there preparing for Hurricane Ernesto?
Yeah, Valerie, a lot of preparations underway. We've seen boats moved out of the marina to get them clear here. We've also heard from local officials they're closing the airport at 8 p.m. local time tomorrow. They're also closing down all city local offices and just ground transportation, buses. People won't be able to get around like that. They're encouraging people to stay in their homes. Those tourists who were trying to get out before Ernesto made its way here, they've run out of time pretty much. If they can't get out tomorrow, then they're going to have to ride out the storm with the locals here as well. There are good things. You mentioned Puerto Rico. Here, things are a bit different. The buildings here, the building codes are a bit more strict. Lots of buildings made of concrete, even limestone roofs. So they're hoping that they could be able to take more of a battering than they were in Puerto Rico. But of course, no matter how hurricane-proof an island is, it can only take so much. So that's why you hear those dire warnings from officials, Valerie.
And Steve, you mentioned Puerto Rico. We know some people there are still without power. How is recovery going there?
Yeah, power outages, the major problem for Puerto Rico, as you were mentioning, at its height, hundreds of thousands without power, and it's going to be a long time before they actually see that power again, something we've seen from previous storms there as well. That's their major concern right now, and the outlook for when it will improve, not too clear. Let's listen.
I can't tell you how long it'll take to us. We don't know at this moment how much damage there is out there, but we do know in certain areas that the damage has been limited, so we should be able to move fast.
Now, President Biden did sign a disaster declaration for Puerto Rico, freeing up some funds to help them there. Meanwhile, here in Bermuda, the hope is the power outages will not be like they were in Puerto Rico. Many of the utility lines here are buried. They're hoping that that will help protect the island from that. There are some above ground, though, so there are still fears of those power outages. We'll have to see exactly what Ernesto does once it makes its way here. Valerie?
All right, Stephen Romo in Bermuda tonight. Stephen, thank you. Let's bring in NBC News meteorologist Angie Lastman. Angie, how is Ernesto expected to develop over the next few days as it gets closer to Bermuda?
So, unfortunately, the system is not done strengthening just yet, Valerie. We're likely going to see a Category 2 here by the time we get through the day tomorrow. Right now, still maintaining Category 1 strength, winds up to 90 miles per hour. So there's a gradual increase in the strength happening as it moves due north at 13 miles per hour. We still got more than 400 miles for this system to make its way to Bermuda, but we likely will be talking about it moving either very near or over the island as we get into Saturday, early hours of Saturday. But by the time we get through Friday, late in the day, we'll already start to see those tropical storm force winds working on shore, and then the hurricane force winds as things continue to deteriorate Friday night into Saturday morning. We'll also be dealing with the heavy rain. We saw what happened in Puerto Rico. We've got the potential to see another foot of rain for folks in Bermuda here as we get through Saturday, and even into Sunday, we could likely still see some of that flash flooding occurring. This area, of course, no stranger to hurricanes, but the last time they were dealing with a system of this magnitude that close was back in 2020 with Paulette. We'll see this system finally lift to the north into some of those cooler Atlantic waters, losing some steam, but still potentially maybe impacting folks in Atlantic Canada as we get into the early parts of next week. We've got a long time to go until then. In the meantime, if you are somebody that plans to head out to the coast, maybe making it a beach weekend, you're going to be met with those red flags up and down the coast. Even though the center will be well far away from the coastal area, we'll still be dealing with the swells and the large surf. Those rip currents will be an issue, Valerie, and that's something that we'll see throughout the weekend and as we head into early next week.
All right, a lot to keep watching. Angie, thank you. Press. 4 people have been arrested in connection with the murder of General Hospital star Johnny Wachter. The arrests were made by the L.A. Police Department. Wachter was shot and killed back in May when police say he confronted several people in the process of stealing his car's catalytic converter, one of whom officers say shot Wachter in the chest. Let's bring in NBC's Dana Griffin. Dana, what do we know about the suspects who have been arrested?
Well, Valerie, we've learned through a source familiar with this case that these are members of a Los Angeles street gang, the youngest, just 19 years old. They released the names Robert Barcelo, Lionel Gutierrez, Sergio Estrada, and Frank Olano. 3 have been booked on murder charges. A 4th was booked on an arrest warrant for accessory. That's for Frank Olano. Investigators have not released much information about the individuals, but it's been 3 months since the General Hospital actor was shot and killed after leaving work, and his family has been pleading for answers and asked the public for their help. We are waiting to learn more from the LAPD, hoping to find out if maybe those public pleas helped in this case. We know they released an image about 2 weeks ago showing the getaway car and an outline, a grainy photo of these suspects. And right now we're waiting to see when they'll be arraigned. That information, Valerie, has yet to be released.
And Dana, have police given any indication of any motive so far?
So kind of. They told us back in May when the shooting happened. It happened at around 3 o'clock in the morning as Wachter was leaving his bartending job with a coworker. He saw someone near his car, thought he was being towed, according to his mother. He walked up to the car to say, hey, that's my car. But once he realized what was happening, because his car had been lifted and they were in the process of stealing his catalytic converter, according to Los Angeles police, he backed away peacefully, according to witnesses. But they still shot him in the chest. His mom says that he died 3 minutes later. Investigators are looking into whether this could be connected to other cases. But at this moment, we know that the 4 people who have been arrested are connected to a Los Angeles street gang. And hopefully when the arraignment happens and more details come out, we'll learn more about why he was shot. But at this moment, it feels like it's kind of just a senseless crime all over metal that the suspects never even took. Valerie?
Dana, I know you'll keep following this case. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. We are just getting started. Up next, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris both front and center. The current VP joining President Biden to tout the lowering Medicare drug prices. As for the former president, he took the afternoon to face the press, the messages from the presidential nominees. Plus, ceasefire talks in the Israel-Hamas war underway, but a key party is sitting it out. The complicated issues on the table and how far can these negotiations really go? And later this hour, a scam warning for anyone who plays a game on their phone. Why ads for card games saying you can win quick cash prizes may be too good to be true. The lawsuits claiming that you never really have a chance. That's tonight in the Future of Gaming.
And how much money did you make?
Yeah, I made $100 about.
After a year and a half of playing for several hours at a time?
Yeah, it can be very easy to just get carried away because it's like having a casino on your phone.
Welcome back. Here are some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. A toddler is dead and 2 other children are hurt after a crash on a Maryland highway. It all started with an abduction last night in Virginia Beach. Police say the children's father stabbed the children's mother, then drove off with the 3 kids. Officers caught up with the car early this morning. That led to a chase. Plumber's car flipped over during the pursuit. He's now in police custody. Actress Gina Rowlands has died. She made her film debut in 1958 and worked for decades. You might know her from the 2004 film The Notebook, but she also earned a pair of Academy Award nominations for Best Actress. During her career, Rowlands was reported to have Alzheimer's disease. She was 94 years old. A salmonella outbreak linked to cucumbers is apparently way worse than first thought. Nearly 450 people in 31 states and Washington, D.C. have gotten sick. The CDC's been investigating this since June. The cucumbers may have been exposed to untreated canal water in Florida. The FDA says the affected cucumbers are no longer on store shelves. Embattled New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez is on his way out and is expected to be replaced with the former chief of staff George Helmy, according to several people familiar with the decision. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy is expected to make the selection. Menendez is stepping down after being convicted on federal bribery charges. Team USA gymnast Jordan Childs is breaking her silence in a statement, calling the decision to have her bronze medal stripped, quote, unjust. She's adding that she's been overwhelmed by the outpouring of support. The U.S. says they are planning to appeal. Former President Trump holding yet another press conference today, this time at his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey. It was his second one in as many weeks. Trump, standing against 2 tables full of grocery store products, railed on a wide range of topics for nearly 80 minutes, including the economy and inflation, his assassination attempt, and, of course, his opponent, Vice President Kamala Harris.
She's running on the Maduro plan. We call it the Maduro plan, like something straight out of Venezuela or the Soviet Union. You don't have to imagine what a Kamala Harris presidency would be because you're living through that nightmare right now. I don't know if she was proudly called border czar, but that's what Crooked Joe Biden called her. And she called J.D. and I weird. He's not weird. He was a great student at Yale. He went to Ohio State. And I'm not looking to be bad to Iran. We're going to be friendly, I hope, with Iran. Maybe, but maybe not. You know I have a gag order. Do you know I can't even talk about it right now? And I'm leading. But let's say I'm tied, but I'm leading. I'd have to say, you're looking at things behind me. They did a nice job. Wow. I haven't gotten to see. That's good. I don't like the tags very much. I think I'm going to take some of them back to my cottage and have a lot of fun. Like the Cheerios. I haven't seen Cheerios in a long time.
NBC's Vaughn Hilliard was at the press conference today and joins us now from Bedminster, New Jersey. Vaughn, Trump has been criticizing Harris for not sitting down for news interviews, and then he does these rather lengthy press conferences. Is this a campaign strategy, and is it a smart one?
It absolutely is, and it veers off of really the campaign tactic that Donald Trump deployed for the first year and a half of his candidacy, when he was largely avoiding major news organizations' questions, really only doing 2 major interviews over the course of that first year and a half. And that is where the last week at Mar-a-Lago, his estate in Florida last week, and then here today in Bedminster, New Jersey, over the course of about 45 minutes answering questions. This is in effort to contrast himself with the top of the Democratic ticket in Kamala Harris, in which the Republicans have been quick and eager to call attention to Kamala Harris, the current vice president's lack of answering questions in the form of either a formal sit-down or over a series of questions from reporters. And so for Donald Trump, we should note here that, today he did answer a series of questions as it pertained to Israel and his conversations around conversations with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and also when it comes to the economy. And also he was asked directly about Nikki Haley's criticisms from 48 hours ago, saying that he is lacking focus in his campaign and instead focusing on personal attacks around Kamala Harris's race and crowd sizes, to which he responded that personal attacks, he feels like he is validated and able to go on offense against the Democratic opponents, but also said that he wants to focus on more issue-based conversations, which the campaign tried to orchestrate over the last 24 hours at an event yesterday, which was billed as an economic address, and then here today outside of his Bedminster estate.
And Vaughn, there was also some shakeup within the Trump campaign, right? What do we know there?
Right. This is a campaign brass that has had really 2 co-campaign managers. Their names are Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita. And there has been very little, inter-campaign drama or palace intrigue stories like the Trump campaigns of 2016 and 2020 and the Trump White House so often had, right? Infighting between aides, and this go around, it's been different. And, Republicans have been very happy with the campaign operation that has surrounded Donald Trump. But that is where today was a little different, because for the first time in this 2024 campaign, over the course of these last weeks, Donald Trump now has his political back up against the wall, with polling in battleground states showing him in the deficit over Kamala Harris. And so today, Donald Trump announced that his very first ever campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, back from 2015, he'll be joining the campaign in a senior advisor role in multiple other old campaign hands, including the most recently the head of the super PAC that was aligned in helping Donald Trump's political ambitions. He is also coming over to the official campaign side. And so right now it's just a more robust campaign with, I think, a lot more voices around Donald Trump. And the question here is, with 2.5 months left, Valerie, to what extent does that change this campaign? Because really Donald Trump has been his own messenger and his own campaign manager, if you will, over the course of the better part of the last 2 years.
All right. Vaughn Hilliard, thank you for your reporting. On the Democratic side, Vice President Harris joined President Biden today, but not for a campaign event. They were in Maryland to tout the administration's work to lower prescription prices for people on Medicare. But Biden took the opportunity to support the Harris campaign.
Folks, I have an incredible partner. The progress we've made, she's going to make one hell of a president. You may have heard about the MAGA Republican Project 2025 plan. Let me tell you what our Project 2025 is. Beat the hell out of them.
NBC's Monica Alba has more details tonight from Washington. Hi, Monica.
Hey there, Valerie. Well, President Biden and Vice President Harris had their first moment together in an official event capacity since the president decided to drop out of the 2024 race last month. And it was a notable one. This was a really newsy event, and it's something that is going to mean a lot to millions of Americans who are on Medicare when it comes to lowering their prescription drug prices. Now, this is something that isn't going to necessarily take effect immediately. It's going to take a couple of years. But we're talking about some really often used medications that people really rely on for their illnesses that are astronomically expensive. And this will allow Medicare to negotiate with these pharmaceutical companies to bring the price of some of those down. And then there will be an opportunity for perhaps more drugs to be a part of this. And the reason that the president and vice president did this event today in Maryland is to document the fact that tomorrow is the anniversary of the Inflation Reduction Act, which is the legislation that makes this possible. So they were really touting this as a major Biden-Harris administration accomplishment, but certainly this comes at a time where you can't really divorce the political from the policy aspect to all of this as well. And they were met with a crowd that was very supportive, and then they went into an overflow room to address more supporters who couldn't fit in the original venue. And at that point, President Biden was speaking, and he was interrupted a couple of times by pro-Palestinian protesters who have been very vocal about their position and about wanting the president to do more when it comes to ending the war in Gaza. But take a listen to how the president responded and acknowledged their concerns.
The idea was that we hold these truths to be self-evident. That all men and women are created equal, down and so on. Including Palestinians. Including Palestinians, including the ones who are not here.
So building on today's event about lowering costs overall for Americans, tomorrow Vice President Harris is now going to be going to North Carolina to unveil a bunch of her own economic proposals. But the reason they wanted to do this event today first as well is to try to tie these two ideas together. The fact that the vice president feels very proud of her record so far during this term in office, what she's been able to accomplish, what she views as what has been successful with the president. But now she wants to lay out to the American people and to voters what she would do on her own if she is to win the White House in November. So she's going to be laying out a lot of that as it relates to trying to reduce corporate price gouging, and also when it comes to housing and affordability. So she's going to spell that out in terms of her policy proposals, all trying to build into that momentum ahead of the Democratic National Convention, which starts Monday. Valerie?
Monica, thank you. As we move towards November, voters are focusing in on the issues. A new poll exclusive to NBC News asked young voters in battleground states what issues are motivating them in this election. Inflation and jobs tops the list, along with abortion rights. But the survey also found that climate change could be more of a motivating factor in actually getting young voters to the polls. National climate reporter Chase Kane shows us the potential impact of Gen Z and millennials.
Climate change has become a deal-breaker issue for many young Americans. 40% of voters under 35 say they will only vote for a candidate who prioritizes climate action, something young voters have been saying since the last election.
I personally am very moderate. I don't consider myself a Democrat or a Republican, but I am here because climate change is the most important priority.
I want a livable future. I want green jobs. I currently go to George Washington University, and I'm worried about the job future.
This new poll, conducted by a Democratic polling firm of registered voters in 5 swing states, showed that across the political spectrum, supermajorities of young voters demand or at least prefer candidates who prioritize climate change.
Yeah, there is enough voter support, not just among Democrats, but also among Republicans, to force politicians to lead on climate. And not out of the goodness of their hearts, but because it will become the easiest way for them to win elections. But the burden is upon us as voters first, because if we don't show up, there's no reason for politicians to appeal to our priorities.
That's the goal of the nonpartisan Environmental Voter Project. Don't change anyone's mind, just try to get young, climate-motivated Americans to vote.
And that impact could be huge. Tufts University projects that Gen Z and millennials will have a combined 104 million eligible voters this fall.
Being able to say, hey, we are going to win over and try to appeal to voters who care about climate, that does matter. It might not be the number one issue. It might not be number 3 or number 4, but in our close and polarized elections that we end up having, every demographic ends up mattering.
One influential climate action group, the Sunrise Movement, frequently organizes protests to communicate that jobs, inflation, and climate change aren't actually separate issues.
Young people want action, so it's beyond a party, and that is why we want to make sure that both nominees know and hear our demands.
I would love to see a bill that really puts forward how tackling climate change can decrease our cost of living and improve our lives. I think that includes housing, education, and jobs, first and foremost. Those are really key costs right now, and also ways that we can improve people's lives.
The survey also asked voters which issues will actually get them to the polls this fall. And when they made that distinction, climate change rose above economic issues, with 78% saying climate is motivating them to vote. In Los Angeles, I'm national climate reporter Chase Kane.
Coming up, new clues about the origins of Stonehenge, what we're learning about just how far material was moved to get to the historic ground. But first, you gotta see this. A tiny bundle of joy has arrived at the Queen Zoo, a poodoo, one of the smallest deer species, weighing in at just 2 pounds. But that's not all. Over in Richmond, Virginia, 2 adorable baby snow leopards, Sheesh and Kira, made their grand entrance into the world, showing off their cool prints. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's take a quick look around the world. Earlier today, Sweden confirmed its first case of the viral infection Mpox, making it the first and only country outside of Africa to test positive for the virus. This development comes after the World Health Organization declared Mpox a global public health emergency following an outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo that has since spread to 12 other countries in the region. Sri Lanka's election panel has approved 39 candidates for the upcoming presidential election next month, marking the largest field since the country gained independence in 1948. Voters will face a critical decision as the nation struggles to recover from its worst financial crisis. Researchers have uncovered new clues about the origins of Stonehenge's famous central stone. A recent study reveals that the 16-foot altar stone was transported from northeast Scotland rather than from Wales as previously thought. This discovery shows just how far ancient builders went to bring the massive stone to southern England. Mount Etna, Europe's most active volcano, erupted today, shooting ash and volcanic gases high into the sky and disrupting air travel across Sicily. The eruption led to the closure of a nearby airport after the runway was covered in ash. There has been no breakthrough in ceasefire talks as fears of a wider war in the Middle East grows, but talks did not break down either. The high-stake negotiations to end the 10-month war and avert an even wider one began in Doha today and are expected to continue tomorrow. The U.S., Israel, Egypt, and Qatar are all part of the discussions. Hamas is not, saying they are losing faith in the U.S. as a mediator. White House National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby described the goal of these talks today on MSNBC.
There's an awful lot of work to get done here. But if we can get this deal in place and you get 6 weeks of a ceasefire, nobody's shooting at anybody for 6 weeks. You can get more humanitarian assistance in, and we can start to get to phase 2, which could actually get us to an end to this conflict.
NBC News correspondent Danielle Hamamdjian joins me now from Tel Aviv. Danielle, without Hamas at the table, how are negotiations realistically going, and what are the sticking points?
Well, according to one U.S. official speaking to NBC News this evening, he described, or the source described it as constructive. According to Egyptian state media, quoting a high-level source, the meeting went on for 7 hours, and as you mentioned, Valerie, will continue tomorrow. Now, Hamas's refusal to take part in the talks could be seen as political posturing. The the fact that they're not physically there does not mean that they'll be completely absent from the process. Remember, they have a team in Doha, they have an office in Doha. So the expectation is that the mediators from Qatar and from Egypt will meet with the Israeli representatives and then consult with Hamas. Hamas has said 10 months in, it is not the time for new conditions. They say that it is now the time to implement, to figure out a mechanism and a framework to implement what they've already agreed on and to figure out a timeline. Both sides, as you know, Valerie, have accused each other of shifting the goalposts, of making new demands at the last minute. But Hamas has also signaled that if they perceive a commitment by Israel to proceed on what's already been agreed on, then they will re-engage.
And Danielle, what about the anticipated response from Iran to Israel? Is that complicating ceasefire talks? And are we learning anything new about Iran's plan?
Well, according to John Kirby, who we heard from just there, they don't know when a retaliatory strike will come, but it could happen in the next few days. They have to be ready, and they are. The United States has beefed up its naval presence in the region. Israel has put its military on high alert all over, on all borders. People are stocking up on basics. They're buying generators. But I have to tell you, here in Tel Aviv, you know, this place has often been called a country within a country. Despite the threat of war, it's strangely business as usual. You'll have yoga classes on the promenade next to me, people skating on skateboards. The beaches are full, beach volleyball. So it is a strange reality, but it is what they're used to here. This, as diplomats try to furiously diffuse tensions, calm tensions. And we heard from the U.S. President Joe Biden earlier this week saying that it's his expectation that Iran will hold off an attack on Israel if an agreement is reached. And tomorrow, foreign ministers from Britain and from France will be coming to Israel to push for a ceasefire.
All right, Danielle, thank you for your reporting. Now to Russia. Ukraine saying troops are moving deeper into Russian territory, the largest invasion of Russia since World War II. New evacuations have been ordered in Russian territory. The government has declared a federal emergency along the border. Ukraine claims its incursion has advanced 22 miles inside Kursk, with some towns under full Ukrainian control. Deborah Haynes from our partners at Sky News reports from the region.
It's impossible to hide the fact that thousands of Ukrainian troops have just invaded his country, seizing land, and it is all across Telegram channels, and also it's been in the state-held Russian media. I mean, for a politician who has spent his career, you know, a previous spy, who spent his career building a reputation of being a strong man, to have his country invaded in this way. It's the first time Russian soil has had any kind of incursion since the Second World War. Must be a huge blow to President Putin. Whether he acknowledges that in his private moments, who knows? He's obviously putting on a brave face. He's faced perilous moments in the past. You'll remember that mutiny last year of his mercenary chief, the Wagner boss, who had that attempted storm on Moscow, which did peter out, and President Putin did survive. So it's important not to count him out. He's ordered his commanders to repel this Ukrainian assault. But as we keep hearing from the Ukrainian side, they are pushing further in, and from what I saw yesterday, there's clearly a lot of armor still heading in the direction of Russia.
All right, Deborah, thank you. A Russian court sentencing a dual American-Russian national to prison today, 12 years for treason. The conviction tied to a $51 donation that she made to a charity helping Ukraine. NBC News international correspondent Josh Letterman has more.
Los Angeles ballerina Ksenia Karelina, a dual U.S.-Russian citizen, now sentenced to 12 years in a Russian prison colony after being convicted of high treason. The crime, according to Russian prosecutors, donating a little over $51 to a Ukrainian organization. They say that constitutes treason, given the fact that Russia is in the middle of an ongoing war with Ukraine. Now, according to Karelina's family, she was not a particularly political person. She didn't really follow the news was not following the war particularly closely, and she was arrested shortly after arriving in Russia on a visit to her home country. Now, her lawyer says she does plan to appeal, but that also they are looking, now that there has been a conviction, to a potential prisoner swap as potentially the likeliest way of getting her home. She has not, as of now, been formally designated as a wrongfully detained person by the American government, which would open some additional diplomatic pathways to bringing her home. But the Biden administration today calling her detention and her sentence for this many years ludicrous, saying they are working to try to get consular access to her and are working to try to bring her back to the United States.
Welcome back. Time now for the future of everything. Have you ever gotten those little pop-up ads for mobile gaming apps like Solitaire and Bingo, claiming that you can win quick money? Well, new lawsuits are accusing some of these games of being rigged. NBC News Daily anchor Vicky Nguyen has the details.
They're classic card games like Solitaire and Bingo you can play on your phone.
Oh my God, I just won $500.
And allegedly win big cash prizes.
You can make real money off Solitaire Cash.
Solitaire Cash, yeah, I get all my money for like shopping and going out.
It looked so easy. Like all you have to do is play a game that everybody knows, and then money just seems to pour into your account.
YouTuber Corina Jacqueline downloaded Solitaire Cash looking for a side hustle to earn extra money. While she could play for free, she says to win real money, she'd have to pay to enter tournaments against other competitors. She played up to 6 hours a day for more than a year, documenting the whole experience.
And how much money did you make?
Yeah, I made $100 about.
After a year and a half of playing for several hours at a time?
Yeah, it can be very easy to just get carried away because it's like having a casino on your phone.
Experts we spoke to say just like real casinos, these games are designed to take your money.
It's throwing these pop-ups at you of like, oh, a special offer, pressuring you to put more money in and to keep playing.
We asked PC Mag gaming expert Jordan Miner to play two popular games, Solitaire Cash and Blackout Bingo, for several weeks. He says both games use tactics to keep you spending, like giving you bonus cash prizes when you pay to enter more tournaments. But try to withdraw that bonus cash, and it's impossible.
So people should know when they see something like a $22 bonus, a $150 bonus, that money actually won't leave the app?
Yeah, it can only be used to play more games.
Wow. Do you think people get bamboozled by that?
I was.
These are the prizes to choose from.
He says Blackout Bingo also keeps players hooked by rewarding them with tickets they can use to buy prizes. But he found even cheap items cost hundreds of thousands of tickets.
So, if I want to get, say, a $10 gift card, I need, 500,000 tickets.
What? You need 3 million tickets for some of these prizes.
Yeah.
How long do you think it would take to earn that many tickets?
Like weeks and weeks.
Skills, the maker of Blackout Bingo, told us in part its games are fair and not gambling, and most are free to enter. The company says its bonus cash operates like coupons designed to make players' dollars go farther. But now, two proposed class action lawsuits claim some gaming companies purposefully stack the deck against you. The pending suits allege that Papaya Gaming and Avia Games, the makers of apps like Solitaire Cash, Solitaire Clash, and others, use computer bots to control the outcome of games and ensure that players often lose.
The companies tell consumers that they are playing games of skill against other real humans. However, in reality, they're using bots and keeping the winnings for themselves.
In statements, both companies called the allegations false and without merit. Avia adding in part, a player's performance dictates game outcomes, and opponents are selected fairly and based on skill level. Papaya said in part its games are fair, provide rewards based on ability, and allow players to compete for free. The company says it discloses its games aren't intended to be a potential source of income. But after her experience, Corina says players beware.
The reality looks completely different to what they make it out to be.
The best advice before you download one of these gaming apps. First, be aware they're often restricted to players 18 and older. Second, you want to read those user reviews online. How easy are people saying that it is to win actual money? How long did they have to play before they won anything? And be wary of these apps because they will ask you for personal information like your name, your address, your date of birth, or your payment information, your credit card information. You don't always know how that information will be used. Back to you.
All right, Vicki, thank you. That does it for us tonight. I'm Valerie Castro. We'll see you tomorrow, but until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.